Hey y'all, it's me. I was headed up to the graveyard, and I still may go up there and walk in a minute. But there's some cars in the church parking lot there, so I'm not sure if they're getting ready to have an event. I don't know, but I'll give them a few minutes to either gather in, and I'll leave them alone, or I'll go up if they're all gone when I get back. But I was just thinking, what a beautiful, gorgeous afternoon to just take a drive. That's the little church that Hugh and I got married in. But anyway, so I'm not actually coming from my direction. I'm coming toward my direction. I'm going to take you up several of the little communities where we live. Okay, where I'm turning right now, this is Bald Creek. And my daddy actually lived in Bald Creek when he was a child. Might be a little bumpy, but I've got y'all kind of on this little selfie stick, and I've got the end of the stick stuck down in the handhold, so hopefully it won't be too bouncy. I'm going to drive slow, try to keep the wind noise down, and I hope that you can hear me as we're going. And besides that, I need to drive slow so I'll be safe. Thankfully, there's really not a lot of traffic out today. It's about 5:30, 6 o'clock on Sunday evening, and just such a gorgeous, gorgeous day. That house that we just passed was the house where my father-in-law, when my father-in-law was born, the lady that lived there, she was like the midwife in the area, and she was the one that helped deliver him, and he was a preemie. He was the youngest in his family, and he actually weighed less than 2 pounds. They didn't expect him to live, and thankfully he did, and recovered, and was actually a good-sized man. He was about 6'3", I believe. And so being born a tiny little preemie didn't slow things down for him. This house that we're passing now, that gentleman and my father-in-law drove back and forth to work. They worked at Dayco, and they drove back and forth to work for probably 30 years. Just good buddies. But this little valley, I have a lot of family that was up in here. My aunt and 2 of my aunts, my dad's stepsisters, and their families were from up in here. And like I said, my daddy was born at the head of this valley. And I wish you were with me. If I'd known I was going to do this, I would have made him come, because he could remember the names of all these places. It's turning so green and beautiful. The dogwoods are blooming. That's always one of my favorite times of the year. I love the dogwood trees. And I'll show you out the front, out the windshield. The problem out the windshield is I don't know how dirty it is, how well you can see. But I'm going to hold it there for a few minutes, and we'll see, hopefully. Not too many bug spots. This is a very, very pretty valley. Yes, and fortunately we've got the rear view mirror in it. I guess I could lean forward a little ways and hold it behind the mirror. That'd work. I'll get my ab workout today. Speaking of which, you know, I hadn't given much thought to healthy things for the past couple of months while I had, and I told y'all in the last video that we have finally come to the conclusion that we did actually indeed have COVID. And the reason I know that for certain is because I can't tell, I can't smell or taste anything. And we were so very sick, and it was definitely a respiratory illness. So anyway, we feel fine, but I still can't taste or smell anything. And it's just So frustrating. But that's helping me with one of my goals, which was not to eat anything after supper. Because just honestly, why? Why even bother? At this point in time, I'm eating just because I'm hungry, and I'm not eating just for sport. And it does make it very, very easy for me to just determine not to snack on anything after supper when I know that I'm not going to taste it. It's just truly going to be there. It's just going to be eating just for the sake of eating. So anyway, I'm thinking, well, maybe I'm hoping that eventually my taste buds will return and I can taste. But in the meantime, it's helping me to just reach that point where I'm not eating just to be eating. So that's a good thing, I guess. The only good thing I could imagine of having COVID. But anyway. I think you and I had done a video for Aaron back last winter, maybe. Well, anyway, it's been a while. It's been a good while. And we drove a little bit over in the valley. And I had, at that point in time, I had planned to actually bring y'all every season so that you could see what it looks like every season in the area. And I did it mainly just because I forgot. I'm having to put you back in the hand holder because that's just makes my arm ache. But anyway, I'm not going to go too far up. I'm going to turn around just around bend up here because I do want to take you up in our little valley. And you know, I'm not very good at doing two things at once. I'm not much of a multitasker. So I'll only be commenting if I see something that makes me think I need to speak. Otherwise, it's better for me just to concentrate on driving and just hold on to this camera. If y'all have any questions about something that I passed, you can send me that in the comments and I will answer it. I think that Hugh and I are going to try to do a live about the middle of this coming week. So, like I said, today is Sunday. I'll be putting this video on. It'll probably come up Monday morning. So, that will be, let me see, 10th, about the 12th of April. I'm going to assume that will be the day. Big rocks. We have areas on our place that looks like that, just big rocks. Oh, there was a good spot and I missed it. Oh well. I don't want to turn around in an obvious driveway. Somebody might get a little upset with me. Alright, this is an obvious driveway, but I think it's pretty far away from anyone's house. So I'm going to use it. And maybe they won't mind too much. They've got a gate across the bottom. Alright. Actually, it may be a little gated community because they've got a keypad there. It's been a long time since I've been this far up in this valley. And there's a pretty little creek. That's actually Bald Creek. I guess this mountain down here. Oh, that's a problem. I was wondering why it was so hot in here. I guess the last person that drove my little car drove it when it was cold. And I was wondering why in the world it felt so warm in here. Alright. So turn on some cool. Jared used to call it cold heat. When he was little, he'd say, "Can you turn on the cold heat, Mommy?" It was very sweet. Aaron was 8.5 years older than Jared. And so he was an instigator. But one of the funny things that Jared, we homeschooled for 17 years. I think I've told y'all that. So we homeschooled for a very long time, and a lot of times with homeschoolers, you're taking your children to little events or to classes or to tutors or whatever. And so there were times that it felt like we were just in the car all day going to these things. And Jared, in his little car seat in the back, he would say, "Mommy, I'm hungry." And I would know that it's going to be, an hour and a half before supper. And so just to kind of cajole him, I would say, "I don't know, let me feel your hand." He would hold his hand out, and I'd reach back and I'd squeeze his hand and I'd say, "No, you're not hungry yet. It'll be a little while. Okay, Mommy." And Aaron would say, "Mom, he will never understand science." And I always just thought things like that were amusing, but it's still amusing to me. I think it's funny. Yesterday, Hugh and I were watching, we were flipping through the movies on the Disney Channel, just trying to find something just entertaining to watch. We rarely watch a movie, but I'm going to let this car go on out in front of me since I'm running so slow. There we go. Yeah, go ahead, lady. So, anyway. Hey, horsey. I've got a pretty horsey. Hi, darling. Hi, darling. But they had a section on classic movies, classic Disney movies, and one of the movies that came up was Benji the Hunted. And I don't know if y'all remember that movie or not. It was a tearjerker. When Aaron was about 4 years old, and he was the only child until he was 5.5, but when he was about 4 years old, we took him to see Benji the Hunted. And at one of the tear-jerking parts, he started sobbing. I mean, he was crying so loud that the people in the theater, people were leaning forward and everything, trying to see what was going on with this little kid. And it was kind of embarrassing because I was afraid someone thought that, we were just being mean to him or something. So I was going, "Shh, Aaron, shh, 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 shh." And he just couldn't stop crying. He was sobbing. And so the truth of the matter is, his tenderness toward animals goes all the way back. And he's like I was like we all still are. We're very much animal people. When I was a kid, and I grew up in Michigan, but because my grandparents, both sides, all my grandparents and my aunts and uncles were all from here in Haywood County, we would come down to this area 2 or 3 times every year for a couple of weeks when my dad, was on vacation or change over at his plant. He worked for a motor company, and that's back in the day when gas stations had their Doberman Pinscher or their German Shepherd chained up in the back with a big "Beware of Dog" sign on them over top of them. And my parents would come out of the bathrooms or out of the gas station after paying or whatever, and I would be petting the gas station guard dog. I never, ever had a fear of a dog, and it's amazing that I just never had my head bit off, I guess, but I just never had a reason to fear an animal. Never had one bite me, so my kids come by it naturally. strange little people that love critters to the moon and back. But so this is Bald Creek. Just quiet little community. These mountains, I don't think you can probably catch the scope of them. I mean, we're nothing like Rocky Mountains out west, obviously, but these mountains here are much, much, much taller and more massive than I think they look like, at least in the screen that I'm looking, because I'll look at the screen and I think, well, it just looks like a little hill, and I'm looking at my windshield and I'm thinking, that's really huge. So I don't know if you can get the scope of them, the massiveness of them or not on the video. Y'all just need to come to Western North Carolina and check this area out for yourself. And while you're here, you gotta come in the valley and sit on my porch and drink coffee with me. Or tea. If you're not a coffee drinker, we'll make some tea. Iced tea, hot tea, it doesn't matter to me. I love tea. See, that's me just about running out of the road. That's not a good thing. I need to pay attention. All right, now I am going to go back up toward the church and past it, because if they're out, I want you guys to see the brand new little baby donkey. The people at the end of this road, well, not the end, but on further down on this road, they raise miniature donkeys, and every time we pass I have to stop and roll my window down. If there's nobody behind me anyway, I have to stop and just have a little conversation with these donkeys. I want you to see them. They're absolutely adorable, and they grow so quickly. It just absolutely shocks me how big that little guy's getting every time we pass. Seems like he's grown 3 inches. But I think they must reach. I need to roll that other window up because it's too loud. They're still at the church. But they must reach adult size by the time they're maybe 6 months old. I don't know. Really, really fast. Really, really fast. But this is the main road that we take when we're going to Waynesville. Usually if we're going to Canton or Asheville, we'll go across the mountain. And I need to take across that way at some point. It'd be a bit too long of a video to do all of that today. But thankfully there's nobody behind me, because I just have to keep pulling over and letting people pass. I'm driving pretty slow. And my hand is going numb, y'all. Oh, gracious. I hope nobody pulls up behind me, because I do want to just stop and let y'all see these baby donkeys. Or this baby donkey. They're just one. He's just a cutie. Yep, he's laying here. Look at that little dude. He is so cute. Let me see if I can pull up a little bit further. Look at him, he's so cute. He's got a little bowl cut and everything. Oh. There's 6 of them usually here, but apparently when the mama has just given birth, here's the mama. They put her in by herself just with a baby, and I guess that, look at the dogwoods, guys, we're passing. I guess that's to keep the baby safe. I don't know. maybe the other donkeys are a little rough for it or something. I don't know. For whatever reason. But that's always a happy time for me, is just to stop and talk to the baby. Roll up this other window. It's blowing my hair all over my face and the edges. Sorry, guys. There's some more dogwoods blooming. All over the place. I really hope this doesn't turn out to be just really bouncy. That'll be disappointing. This old house right here, this old Ferguson home, instead it's about ready to fall in. It's surprising to me that they haven't had the fire department come and burn it down, which is usually kind of the thing they do with old buildings and old barns. Because it's a bit dangerous standing there. It's really close to the road, so I don't know. Maybe a sentimental thing. They're just not ready to let it go yet. Get car sick going around these curves. This camera might make you have to look away for a few minutes. Alright, I'm going to go up here around the loop at the fire department and head back up the valley. Susie Noland lived right here in this house. This is Susie Noland Road, as a matter of fact. But this little tiny house right here. And she was a bootlegger. Hugh said he remembered when he was a teenager. Right there's our little community fire department. When he was a teenager, he remembered coming with his buddy to get a little bit of beer or liquor, whatever they were buying from her. And Hugh's daddy, that's the gymnasium of the old school. The school has been torn down, but my daddy went to that school. Hugh's mother and daddy went to that school. Hugh went to that school. But there's, again, the school's gone, but the gymnasium's still standing. But anyway, Hugh's daddy had told Miss Susie, you know, how much she was allowed to sell Hugh. And so when Hugh and his buddy Harold came to buy something from her, whatever it was they were buying, Hugh told her what he wanted, paid for it, and then Harold, you know, was going to buy some too, and she wouldn't sell him anything. And Hugh asked her, he said, "Hey, Susie, how come you sold to me, but you won't sell to him?" And she said, "I don't know his daddy." I don't know, y'all. It's a different time back then. It's kind of funny, though. Probably shaking all over the place, and I'm trying to. driving around with her phone stuck out the window. I may be the talk of the community. When Hugh and I got married, there was a little old man that lived down at the end of our road, and I can't remember his name, but he was probably a relative of Hugh's, I don't know. But I did tend to drive a little fast because rarely did I get left on time to get to work on time without driving a little bit fast. And the road was gravel at the time, y'all. It was. So, but this little old man and his little border collie were bad to walk in the middle of the road. And so I was heading to work one day in my little blue Vega and rounded the curve, and there he was in the middle of the road. And so I swerved to keep from hitting him. And yes, I was young and I should have been driving slower. But anyway, the car began to fishtail because, I was running a little fast and it was a gravel road. And I ended up going up into the cornfield. So I got out of the car, checked to make sure he was all right. And I waved at him and I just let him know I'm okay. And I got back in my car and went on to work. Well, the next thing I knew, there's the babies again. There's a mama and a baby. Hey guys. Hey guys. Nobody's behind me, so I won't. You are so cute. You are so doggone cute. But anyway, so the next thing I heard from Hugh's cousin that lived up above us, she said this little man was talking to her husband John and he said that crazy wife of Hugh's come flying around the corner, almost ran over me, went flying over the cornfield and got out of the car and waved, I'm okay, and then got in her car and went on. So that was my reputation from our very earliest days of marriage. Oh well. It was funny then. It's still funny to me now, but I am very, very glad that it didn't end up worse than it did for me or for him. So, thankfully, I'm a slow driver now, but it just wasn't then. Maybe it had something to do with growing up in Michigan. I don't know. Everybody there's in a hurry. I don't get much of a hurry for anything anymore. Green, beautiful green Sunday. I love it. Should have made you come riding with me. He's watching a Western, and I thought I was going up to the graveyard to walk. But I am totally well now and ready to start walking again. Absolutely I am. Slowly. I'm going to walk slowly. I've been, the lady I had told y'all about earlier, the Margaret Martin, the physical therapist, exercising with her, and she has been reminding me of something that I had forgotten about. Years and years ago, I had read that the eccentric and the concentric forms of exercise works the front or the back of your muscles. And a lot of times when we're exercising, we're counting like 1, 2, 3, down 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, down 2, 3, which is fine. But you really have to do a whole lot of exercises moving at that rate in order to exhaust your muscles. Actually, a better way, pull over and I'll let this little person pass. They look like they're in a bigger hurry than I am. So, all right. But that's a pretty little valley up there. Now, we're getting ready to pass one of the most beautiful valleys. As a matter of fact, I think I'll pull off up here and just show it to you. It's one of the most beautiful valleys to me, that I've ever seen, and are the most beautiful farm in this valley. Oh, look. There is a little turkey. Little turkey. I'll see if I can get a better picture of her. But anyway, I'll pull off over here and walk back because it's well worth it. And it is gorgeous, gorgeous, beautiful, guys. Just go ahead and turn my car off. That probably sounds better, doesn't it? I forgot my handbag. That'd have been bad if I'd gotten stopped. All right. Just get a load of that. Is that not gorgeous? I've always said that I will never stop painting until I've painted this farm. To me, it is so very beautiful. So very, very, very beautiful. But I was telling you something. I got sidetracked. Oh, and speaking of sidetracked, I was telling you a story the other day about a tornado, and I couldn't remember where I was going. So somebody reminded me. Said, "Well, you're telling us about a tornado you were in." And when Hugh and I had gotten engaged, and I had gone back home to work my notice and all that sort of thing, my cousin went back with me, and we had a terrible tornado. That's in 1980, and let me see, probably about August, I think, if I remember correctly, of 1980. And I worked at a little place called Electrotech, and it was in Michigan. I made voltage regulators for Army tanks. And when that tornado came through, I'm getting distracted, y'all. Look at the highlights on those trees. You can see the trees are budding out wonderfully. Beautiful. Well, anyway, the little factory itself, the roof was tin, and as the tornado was coming through, the roof was shaking, and all these chunks of rust were falling down on all of us. So our bosses, two elderly brothers, came through and told us to get in the front office, get in the front office. So here we went, all of us little ladies, and there was just a couple guys that worked there, but we went to the front office, which was plate glass all the way across the front. Probably the most unsafe place you could possibly be in a tornado. But anyway, here we were, watching the rain blow sideways. You could actually see big tree limbs, just barely the outlines of them, blowing sideways. And so when the storm passed, everybody wanted to go home and check on their kids because it was summertime. So everybody took off home, and my girlfriend Diana and I, that we worked there at the same time, it took us 45 minutes to drive, like a 10-minute drive to my house, because there were trees down everywhere. We drove through Wayne, the city of Wayne, and all of the stores, the windows were busted out, and everything was flooded, and it was awful. Our home, my home, wasn't damaged at all. Diana's home wasn't damaged at all, but we all were without power for, I think, probably close to 2 weeks. So it was a significant storm. I don't remember much about it other than that, other than standing in that big office with all that plate glass across the front. It's actually funny now. Let's see if I can hold you over there so you can get a better view of where we're heading. Did you notice our little tractor sign back there? It was a lady tractor driver. I think that's cute. That's where Sean and Teresa live. You'll hear me mention Sean and Teresa every now and then. And then that big white house over there belonged to Hugh's Aunt Margaret. And up in this field right here, Hugh and I lived up at the top. That was a field that we lived in the first time. Oops, I don't have my seatbelt on. It's yelling at me. Hold on a minute. Let me pull over and do that. Sorry, guys. I guess I should stop the car. There we go. You're all gonna say she's the most unsafe driver I've ever seen. I'm not. I'm really not. I'm a very careful driver. Just I don't multitask. I'll have to make sure Hugh comes with me from now on, because this probably isn't a good idea for me to do this. But anyway, this was kind of fun. I hope it wasn't too bouncy, and I hope that you have enjoyed it. If it wasn't too bouncy, Hugh did let the girls, he put up fencing and let the girls in the bottom part of my garden, and wow, they have already really eaten it off. But I told them, I said, just make sure they can't get in the garden, because I don't want them stomping in my little vegetable plants. I think that it's safe. Looks like they're not going to try to get over in it. Alright, guys. I hope that you're enjoying your day. I am enjoying my day. I need to get outside some, because I've just been poking around inside the house doing this, that, and the other. And I need to get outside and enjoy the rest of this evening. But you are loved. Take care, and I will talk to you hopefully before Wednesday. But if not before Wednesday, then Hugh and I, like I said, we're going to try our best to do a live. He's an interesting dude. Y'all need to just come with questions to ask him, and he'll answer them. He's a pretty smart dude. All right, love y'all. Bye-bye.